The sky above Lagos was a dull grey, heavy with the promise of rain. Inside the small hospital room, the steady beep, beep, beep from the heart monitor was the only sound breaking the silence. Angela lay on the bed, her skin pale and her breathing weak. Her hand trembled as she reached for her daughter. "Benita," she whispered, "don't cry. God will make a way." But Benita couldn't stop crying. Tears ran down her cheeks like rain. She held her mother's cold hand tightly, her heart pounding with fear. "Mom, the doctor said you'll die if we don't pay for the surgery. Please don't say that," she sobbed. The doctor stepped into the room, his face firm but kind. "Young lady," he said softly, "we need 5 million naira for the operation. Without it, your mother might not make it through the night." 5 million. The number echoed in Benita's mind like thunder. She didn't even have 500 naira left. Her sandals were worn out, her gown was torn at the shoulder, and her stomach had been empty since morning. Still, she wiped her tears and looked up at the doctor. "Please, don't give up on her. I'll find the money, I promise." The doctor sighed, pity in his eyes. "We can only wait for 2 more hours." Benita kissed her mother's forehead. "I'll be back, Mama. Please hold on." Then she ran out. The streets were busy, loud and heartless. The smell of roasted corn and exhaust fumes filled the air. Benita's feet hit the interlocking tiles in front of the supermarket as she gasped for breath. 5 million, she whispered, looking around desperately. "Who can I ask? Who will listen?" And then she saw it, a black Rolls-Royce pulling up by the supermarket gate. The car gleamed under the fading light, its body so clean she could see her own reflection in it. The driver stepped out first, then opened the back door. From inside came a tall, dark-skinned man in a navy blue agbada and red cap. His wristwatch sparkled, his shoes shone, his presence made everyone nearby stop and stare. Benita's heart raced. He looks rich. Maybe he can help. Without thinking, she ran across the parking lot. Her torn brown gown fluttered in the breeze as she fell to her knees before him. "Please, sir, please save my mother," she cried. Her voice shook with desperation. "She's dying in the hospital. She's all I have. Please, I'll do anything." People nearby turned to look. A security guard at the supermarket entrance paused, shocked. The billionaire, Nicholas, froze. He looked down at the girl kneeling before him, her face streaked with tears and dust. His expression softened. "What did you say?" he asked gently. "My mother is dying, sir," Benita cried harder. "The doctor said they can't help her unless we pay 5 million for her surgery. Please, she's the only person I have." Nicholas bent down slowly, his heart tightening as he looked at her. There was something strangely familiar about her face, her eyes, her voice, her pain. Then his gaze dropped to her wrist, and his breath caught. There, on her right wrist, was a faint crescent-shaped birthmark. His world seemed to stop. That mark, he had the same one on his own wrist. No one else in his family had it. It was rare, a mark passed down through generations. Nicholas blinked, speechless. His hand trembled slightly as he raised his wrist to compare. The mark matched perfectly. What's your name?" he whispered. "Benita," she answered, still on her knees. He swallowed hard, his throat dry. Who is your mother?" "Angela, sir. Angela Okoro." The name hit him like lightning. His eyes widened. For a moment, the noise of the city disappeared. He could still remember that name, the laughter of a young woman in his university days, her eyes full of dreams, the promises he made before he left for America 19 years ago. He staggered slightly, emotion flooding him. "Get up," he said quietly, his voice breaking. "Take me to her." Benita blinked, confused. "Sir?" "I said take me to your mother, now." He turned to his driver. "Start the car." People watched in surprise as the billionaire helped the dirty, barefoot girl into his luxury Rolls-Royce. Inside the car, Benita sat trembling, afraid, yet hopeful. She glanced at him from the corner of her eye. "Sir, thank you. Thank you so much," she whispered. Nicholas didn't respond. His mind was a storm of memories and questions. Angela, could it really be her? As the car sped toward the hospital, he looked again at Benita's wrist, that mark that looked exactly like his own, and his hands tightened around his knees. Something deep inside him whispered a truth he wasn't ready to face. But if what he was thinking was right, then the poor orphan begging to save her dying mother was his own blood. When they arrived at the hospital, Benita ran ahead, leading him through the narrow hallway to the ward. Nicholas followed silently, his heart pounding. She pushed open the door, and there she was. Angela, the same woman whose laugh had once filled his university hostel corridors, the same woman he had loved deeply before life tore them apart. Her face was pale, but even after 19 years, he knew her instantly. Nicholas froze by the doorway, his chest tightening. He could barely breathe. "Sir," Benita whispered, "this is my mother." Angela's weak eyes fluttered open. She looked at her daughter, then at the tall man standing behind her. For a long second she squinted, and her lips parted in disbelief. Nicholas?" she whispered faintly. He stepped closer, unable to hide the tears in his eyes. "Angela?" But before he could speak, the doctor rushed in with urgency. "We need to take her to surgery right now." Nicholas quickly pulled out his checkbook. "Do whatever it takes. I'll pay for everything." The doctor blinked in shock. "Sir, it's 5 million naira." "I said everything," Nicholas snapped. As the nurses rolled Angela's bed toward the surgery room, Nicholas turned to the doctor and spoke in a low voice. "Doctor, take a blood sample from Benita and run a DNA test. Don't tell her anything yet." The doctor hesitated but nodded. Nicholas stood outside the operating room, staring at the red light above the door, his thoughts spinning. If the DNA proved what he feared, or hoped, his life was about to change forever. The rain finally began to fall outside, tapping softly against the hospital windows. And as thunder rolled in the distance, Nicholas whispered to himself, "God, please, let it be true." Rain poured heavily over Lagos that night. The city's noise was drowned by the sound of thunder and water running off rooftops. Inside the hospital, the world felt different, quiet, tense, and full of prayers. Nicholas sat alone on a metal chair outside the surgical ward. His expensive agbada was soaked from the rain he didn't care to hide from. His hands were clasped together, his eyes fixed on the glowing red "Surgery in Progress" sign. Every tick of the clock echoed like a drumbeat in his ears. He thought of Angela, the laughter in her voice when they were young, the way she would hold his hand and talk about their dreams. She wanted to be a teacher. He wanted to build a company. They promised each other forever, but he left for America right after graduation, chasing business deals and never looking back. For 19 years, he searched for love in empty places, 3 failed marriages, no children, and a heart that never healed. And now, fate had dragged him back to the very woman whose name he never stopped whispering in his sleep. And that girl, Benita, the way she looked at him, the way her wrist carried the same mark his father and grandfather had. It couldn't be a coincidence. The door to the doctor's office creaked open. Nicholas stood instantly. "Doctor." Dr. Raymond adjusted his glasses, his face unreadable. "Mr. Nicholas, we have 2 results. The surgery is still ongoing, but I have something you need to see." He handed Nicholas a white envelope sealed with hospital tape. Nicholas tore it open, his hands trembling. Inside was a sheet of paper, short, simple, yet powerful enough to change his entire life. DNA match. 99.9% positive. He froze, his breath hitched, his knees weakened, and he sat back down slowly. It was true. Benita wasn't just a girl begging for help. She was his daughter, his blood, his flesh, his second chance at the family he thought he'd never have. Tears filled his eyes as he whispered, "My daughter. Oh God, my daughter." Meanwhile, Benita sat on a wooden bench in the hospital hallway, her gown still damp, her fingers clenched tightly around a small cross pendant her mother had given her. She didn't know what the billionaire was doing or why he seemed so emotional, but she could only think of one thing: her mother's life. The nurse came out and smiled gently. "The operation is going well, she's strong." Benita breathed out in relief and whispered, "Thank you, Jesus." Moments later, Nicholas stepped out of the doctor's office. His eyes were red, but his face looked softer, almost peaceful. Benita stood quickly. "Sir, did they say anything? Will my mum be okay?" He nodded slowly. Yes. Yes, she will. She clasped her hands together in joy. Thank you, sir. Thank you. I don't know how to thank you. God will bless you. Nicholas smiled faintly. You remind me so much of someone I once knew. Benita tilted her head. Really? Who? He hesitated. Someone I hurt a long time ago. Before she could ask more, a nurse rushed out of the surgery room. She made it. The surgery was successful. Benita screamed with joy and hugged the nurse tightly. Her tears this time were tears of relief. Thank you, thank you. Nicholas turned his face away to hide his tears. He couldn't let her know yet. Not until Angela was strong enough to hear the truth. Hours later, after Angela was moved to a private ward, Nicholas paid the entire hospital bill, over 6 million naira, including post-surgery care. He sat beside her bed quietly, watching her breathe. The oxygen mask covered her face, but she looked peaceful. Angela, he whispered, I thought I lost you forever. And I never even knew. You gave me a daughter. He looked at Benita, sleeping in the chair beside her mother's bed, her head resting on the sheets. The light from the bedside lamp touched her face, so much like Angela's when she was young. He stood and walked to the window, staring out at the rain. God, he said softly, I don't deserve this chance. But please let me make it right this time. Morning came with sunlight breaking through the clouds. The smell of disinfectant filled the air. Angela's fingers moved weakly. Her eyelids fluttered open. Benita, she whispered. Her daughter sprang up, crying in joy. Mom, you're awake. Nicholas stepped forward carefully, his heart pounding. Angela's tired eyes met his and widened in shock. Nicholas, she whispered. He nodded slowly. It's me. Tears welled up in her eyes. What are you doing here? Benita smiled proudly. He's the one who saved you, Mom. He paid for your surgery. Angela's lips trembled. You did? Yes, Nicholas said softly, and there's something else you need to know. He pulled out a folded document from his pocket, the DNA result. He placed it gently on the table beside her bed. Angela looked at him, confused. What's this? It's proof, Nicholas said, his voice shaking. Proof that Benita is my daughter. For a long moment the room was silent. Angela stared at him, then at Benita. Her lips parted, but no words came out. Nicholas knelt beside the bed, tears streaming down his face. Angela, I swear I didn't know. I thought you moved on. I looked for you for years. Please, forgive me. Angela began to cry quietly. Her hand reached out, touching his face weakly. All these years, she whispered. I raised her alone. I told her father died. Benita's eyes widened. Mom, what are you saying? Angela broke down completely. Your father is right here, Benita. He's the man who saved my life. Benita stood frozen, staring at both of them in disbelief. You mean, he's my father? Nicholas looked up at her, tears falling freely. Yes, my child. You're my daughter. Benita covered her mouth as her knees gave way. I can't believe this. Nicholas pulled her close and hugged her tightly. I lost 19 years of your life, but I promise I'll never lose another day. Angela turned her face toward them, crying softly. For the first time in many years, her heart felt light again. She whispered, Maybe God didn't forget us after all. But just as peace began to fill the room, the doctor entered suddenly with a serious face. Sir, there's something you need to see in the new report from Angela's surgery. Nicholas frowned. What report? The doctor handed him a folder, his tone grim. It's about her condition. We found something unexpected. Nicholas opened the folder slowly, his eyes scanning the page. His expression changed from calm to fear in seconds. He looked up, stunned. What? What do you mean she only has 6 months left? Angela's smile faded. Benita gasped, clutching her mother's hand. And just like that, the room went cold again. The silence in the hospital room was deafening. For a moment, no one moved. Nicholas stared at the doctor, his mouth open, but no words came out. The only sound was the faint ticking of the wall clock and the soft whir of the air conditioner. Benita turned quickly toward her mother. What does he mean, sir? She asked, her voice trembling. You said she was fine. You said the surgery worked. Dr. Raymond sighed deeply, taking off his glasses. The surgery was successful, yes. We were able to stop the internal bleeding and stabilize her organs. But, he paused, looking down at the file, we found a cancerous mass that has spread too far. It's late stage. At this point, only advanced overseas treatment might give her a chance. Benita's face turned white. Overseas? How much? About 30 million naira for the full treatment, the doctor said quietly. It's her only hope. Angela closed her eyes slowly. No, she whispered, weakly shaking her head. No more treatment. I'm tired, doctor. Please, just let me go home. Mom, don't say that, Benita cried, kneeling by her mother's bed, holding her hand tightly. You promised you'd see me become a pilot. Please, don't give up now. Nicholas placed a trembling hand over Angela's. Angela, please listen to me. I can afford it. I'll take you abroad tomorrow if that's what it takes. Just give me a chance to make this right. Angela smiled faintly, her eyes glistening with tears. You don't have to do this out of guilt, Nicholas. I've made my peace. Peace? He repeated softly, his voice breaking. Angela, I lost you once. I'm not losing you again. Not when I just found you. And our daughter. He turned to the doctor, his tone suddenly firm. Prepare her documents. Whatever hospital in the world she needs, London, America, anywhere, do it. Money is not a problem. The doctor nodded and left quickly. Later that night, after the hospital quieted down, Benita sat beside her mother, gently brushing her hair. Angela smiled weakly. You've grown so fast, she said softly. Sometimes I still see that little girl who used to sleep on my lap after school. Benita sniffed, wiping her tears. And you're still the strongest mum in the world. You worked under the sun just to feed me. You washed clothes for people. You sold a kara. You did everything alone. I won't let you go now. Angela's eyes shimmered. I did it because I wanted you to have a future, even if I'm not there to see it. Don't talk like that, Benita whispered. You will see it. You will be there when I fly my first plane. From the doorway, Nicholas watched silently. The sight of them together pierced his heart like a knife. He could see himself in Benita, her courage, her persistence, her love. He turned away, walked into the hospital corridor, and took out his phone. Hello? Get my jet ready for morning. And call the hospital in London. We're leaving at dawn. But fate had its own plans. By morning, when Nicholas returned with the travel documents and medical contacts, Angela's condition had worsened. Her breathing was shallow, machines beeped rapidly, nurses rushed in and out of the room. Benita cried uncontrollably, holding her mother's hand. Mom, please stay with me, please. Angela opened her eyes, barely whispering, Benita. Yes, Mom, I'm here, she sobbed. Be good, always be kind. Don't hate the world for what it did to us. Nicholas fell to his knees beside her bed, tears streaming down his face. Angela, please, don't go, not like this. Her eyes met his, soft and forgiving. Nicholas, she said faintly, don't blame yourself. Life happened. You gave me a reason to smile again. The heart monitor slowed. Beep, beep, then a long, steady tone filled the air. Benita screamed, No, Mom, wake up, please. Nicholas held her tightly as she cried into his chest. It's okay, my child. It's okay, he said, but his voice broke halfway. Angela's lifeless hand slipped from Benita's grasp. The woman who had sacrificed everything to raise her was gone. The funeral was small and quiet. Rain fell softly over the cemetery as Benita stood before the grave, dressed in a simple black gown. Nicholas stood beside her, holding an umbrella over her head, but she didn't care about the rain. She stared at the fresh soil covering the coffin. She never asked for anything, Benita whispered. She just wanted me to live a better life. And now she's gone before she could see it. Nicholas's voice was low. She saw more than you think. She saw the daughter she raised grow into a woman brave enough to kneel before a stranger for love. Benita wiped her tears, her voice trembling. She said I shouldn't hate the world. But it's hard, Dad. It's so hard. Nicholas gently turned her toward him. Then don't hate it. Change it. Live the life she dreamed for you. I'll make sure you do. He looked up at the sky, whispering, Angela, I failed you once. but I'll protect our daughter with everything I have. Days later, Nicholas took Benita to his mansion. The gates opened, revealing the grand estate, fountains, gardens, cars, and servants everywhere. But for Benita, who had grown up in a one-room apartment with cracked walls, it felt like another world. She clutched her small nylon bag and looked around quietly. Nicholas placed a hand on her shoulder. "This is your home now." She shook her head, overwhelmed. "Dad, I don't belong here. Look at me. I'm not like these people." He smiled gently. "Neither was I once. But you belong with me now. You're my daughter." A tear slipped down her cheek. "Thank you, Dad." As they walked into the mansion, Benita paused by a wall full of framed photographs, Nicholas's business achievements, company board meetings, and newspaper headlines. But one empty frame caught her attention. It was polished, golden, waiting for a picture that was never taken. She turned to him. "Who's this for?" Nicholas smiled faintly. "For the family I thought I lost." Benita's eyes softened. "Then maybe it's time to fill it." He looked at her, pride shining in his eyes. "Yes, it's time." But just as peace began to return, a black SUV pulled up outside the mansion. Nicholas frowned. "Who's that?" A man in a suit rushed in. "Sir, we have a problem. Someone from your past is here. She claims she's your legal wife." Nicholas froze. "What?" Benita turned sharply, confused. "Dad, I thought you said—" Before he could answer, the front doors opened and a tall, elegant woman stepped in, wearing a red dress and heels. Her voice was sharp as thunder. "Hello, Nicholas," she said coldly. "Did you really think you could hide your little secret family from me?" Benita's heart skipped. Nicholas's face went pale, and the storm in their lives was just beginning. The air in the mansion froze. Benita stood near the stairs, gripping the railing with both hands. Her chest rose and fell fast. The strange woman's perfume filled the room, sharp, expensive, and unsettling. Nicholas blinked twice, his voice barely steady. "Victoria, what are you doing here?" Victoria smiled tightly, her red lipstick gleaming under the chandelier light. "What am I doing here?" she echoed with a bitter laugh. "Maybe you should ask yourself that. I heard you've been spending millions on some hospital girl. Now I come here and find a teenager calling you Dad." Benita's eyes widened. "Dad?" she whispered, confused and frightened. Nicholas took a deep breath and stepped forward. "Victoria, this isn't the place. We'll talk in private." But Victoria crossed her arms, glaring. "No, we'll talk right here." She turned her sharp eyes to Benita. "So this is the reason you've been avoiding me for months? This girl and her mother?" Benita stepped back, trembling. I didn't do anything." Victoria's voice rose, cold and venomous. "Don't play innocent. You think you can just walk into this house and take my husband?" Nicholas snapped. "Enough." His tone boomed through the living room. Even the guards outside went silent. He turned to Victoria. "You lost every right to call yourself my wife when you signed those divorce papers 2 years ago. I didn't throw you out. You walked away, remember?" Victoria's face stiffened. "You never filed it, Nicholas. You left the papers unsigned. Legally, I'm still your wife." The room went still. Benita's mouth opened slightly. Nicholas froze. "That can't be true." Victoria smiled triumphantly. "Oh, but it is. My lawyer confirmed it this morning. And now you're all over the news. Billionaire CEO saves a dying woman and her daughter. You didn't think I'd see that, did you?" Nicholas's chest tightened. "You came here for money, not love." Victoria smirked. "You have no idea what I came for." Her eyes darted to Benita. "You said she's your daughter, right?" "From where? A backstreet affair?" Benita gasped, tears filling her eyes. "Please stop saying that." Nicholas turned angrily. "Don't talk to her that way." Victoria laughed bitterly. "So it's true. 19 years ago, while you were in the university, you got someone pregnant, and now she's here to take everything from me." Nicholas clenched his fists. "You don't know what you're talking about. Angela was part of my past, long before you ever existed in my life. She never asked me for anything. And yes, that girl is my daughter. My blood." Victoria stepped closer, her eyes burning with fury. "Then get ready, Nicholas. Because if she's your daughter, that means she's part of what's mine." Nicholas frowned. What are you saying? Victoria smirked. I'm saying I'll make sure you regret ever meeting her again. That night, Benita sat in her new bedroom, hugging her pillow tightly. The room was beautiful, cream-colored walls, gold curtains, a queen-size bed. But it didn't feel like home. She could still hear the echoes of Victoria's words. Backstreet affair. Take everything from me. She buried her face in her hands and whispered, Mum, why did you leave me with all this pain? Why now? The door opened quietly. Nicholas stepped in, his face tired but gentle. Hey, he said softly, can I come in? Benita nodded, wiping her tears quickly. I'm sorry, Dad. Maybe if I hadn't come to you that day, all this wouldn't have happened. He sat beside her and took her hand. Don't ever say that. You did nothing wrong. You saved me from living a lie. But she hates me, Benita whispered. She said I'm the reason you'll lose everything. Nicholas sighed. Victoria only loves power and money. She'll try to use the law against us. But I won't let her hurt you. Benita looked at him nervously. Can she really take everything? He paused. If she can prove the divorce papers weren't finalized, she could take half, Benita gasped. Half of everything? Nicholas nodded slowly. Including the mansion. Tears filled her eyes again. Then we can leave, Dad. We don't need this place. He smiled faintly. You sound just like your mother. They sat in silence for a while until a knock came at the door. One of the guards entered, sweating. Sir, Madame Victoria just left the mansion, but before she did, she took some documents from your office. Nicholas stood instantly. What documents? Your company ownership files, sir, and the land deeds. Nicholas's face hardened. Call my lawyer, now. The next morning, the newspapers exploded with headlines. Billionaire CEO's secret daughter sparks legal battle. Victoria Nicholas files for half of Undertech Holdings. Nicholas slammed the paper on the table in frustration. Sir, his lawyer said calmly, she's using the marriage certificate and your unsigned divorce draft to claim you violated marital rights by supporting another family financially. Nicholas rubbed his temples. She can't win. I'll fight her to the end. Benita watched from the corner of the room, worried. Dad, maybe it's better to let her have it. We can start over. He turned to her sharply. No, Benita, you're my daughter. This legacy is yours now. But Mom wouldn't want more fighting, Benita said softly. She always said peace is better than pride. Nicholas froze, her words echoing in his heart. He remembered Angela's last breath, her soft voice saying, Don't blame yourself. Life happened. His anger slowly melted into sadness. You sound just like her, he whispered. Benita smiled faintly through her tears. Maybe she's still guiding us. Later that evening, as the sun set over Lagos, Nicholas received a call that made his heart sink even deeper. Sir, the voice on the phone said, Victoria has gone to the media. She's claiming Benita's birth story is fake, that the DNA test was forged to steal your fortune. Nicholas gripped the phone tightly. She wouldn't dare. She already did, sir. It's trending everywhere. He rushed to the TV. Every channel was flashing the same headline. Is Benita really his daughter? Shocking allegations against billionaire Nicholas. Benita stood behind him, her voice shaking. Dad, what's happening? He turned slowly, eyes filled with fury and fear. She wants to destroy us, but I won't let her win. He picked up his phone again and said in a low, determined tone, Call a press conference, tomorrow morning. I'll tell the world the truth myself. Benita stared at him, heart pounding. But Dad, what if they don't believe you? Nicholas turned toward her, his eyes full of fire. Then I'll give them proof they can't deny. Morning came with the sound of thunder rumbling over Lagos skies. It felt like the heavens themselves knew a storm was brewing, not outside, but inside the heart of one man who had everything to lose. Nicholas stood before the mirror in his mansion bedroom, tightening the knot of his navy blue tie. His reflection looked calm, but his eyes told another story, red from sleepless nights. Tired from battles that weren't just legal, but emotional. Today was the press conference. Today he would tell the world the truth. He turned as Benita entered quietly, dressed in a neat white blouse and black skirt. Her hair was tied back, her eyes swollen from crying all night. Are you ready? She asked softly. Nicholas nodded. I've never been more ready. She walked closer. Dad, you don't have to do this for me. I can live without the money, without the company. I just want peace. He smiled faintly, resting a hand on her shoulder. Benita, this isn't about money anymore. It's about truth. The world called you a liar, but today they'll call you my daughter. Tears filled her eyes. I'm proud to be your daughter, Dad. He hugged her tightly. And I'm proud to be your father. The press hall was packed. Cameras flashed like lightning. Reporters murmured as Nicholas walked in with Benita by his side. He stepped to the podium, adjusted the microphone, and looked around the room. Every journalist in Nigeria seemed to be there. Good morning, he began, his deep voice echoing. You've heard many stories, but I'm here to tell you the truth, not just as a businessman, but as a man who made mistakes. He took a deep breath. 19 years ago, before I ever built Anditech, before the money, before the headlines, I was in love with a woman named Angela Okoro. She was my classmate, my best friend, my heart. We lost contact after graduation. I left for the US chasing success, and I never saw her again. He turned to Benita, until her daughter came to me one evening, in front of a supermarket, crying, begging for help to save her dying mother. That girl is standing beside me now. Her name is Benita. The room fell silent. Even the cameras seemed to pause. She didn't know who I was. She just wanted to save her mother. When I saw her birthmark, I froze, because I have the same mark, and later the DNA test confirmed the truth. She is my daughter. Gasps filled the hall. Nicholas continued, voice trembling. Yes, I was married after that. Yes, I made mistakes. But no, this child is not a lie. She's my blood, my second chance, my redemption. At that moment, the large hall doors swung open. Victoria entered, dressed sharply in red again, cameras flashing at her. She held a folder in her hand, walking straight to the podium. So touching, she sneered. But let's see if your proof still holds up. Reporters buzzed with excitement as she raised a paper. This is the DNA test result you claim proves she's your daughter. But my sources in the hospital said this test was manipulated. Would you like me to read it? Nicholas's lawyer stepped forward instantly. Objection. That document is outdated and illegally obtained. But Nicholas raised a hand calmly. Let her read it. Victoria smirked, with pleasure. She unfolded the paper and began reading dramatically. DNA result inconclusive due to mismatched samples. There, you see, the test you claimed was positive never existed. Cameras clicked wildly. Reporters started shouting questions. Benita froze, her heart pounding. Dad, she whispered, is this true? Nicholas frowned, confused. That's not the document I saw. Where did you get that? Victoria grinned. From your office, of course. You're careless, Nicholas. But before she could say more, Dr. Raymond, the hospital's chief medical officer, entered through the side door with security guards. He held another envelope. Excuse me, he said firmly, approaching the podium. That document she's holding was stolen, and it's false. The real result was under hospital security lock until this morning. Gasps spread again. Nicholas turned quickly. You have the original? Dr. Raymond nodded and handed it to him. We rechecked everything. The result is still 99.9% positive. He turned to the reporters. Mr. Nicholas is telling the truth. Benita is his biological daughter. Victoria's face drained of color. That's impossible. Dr. Raymond interrupted. It's not impossible. It's science. And now, stealing medical documents. That's a crime. Security guards moved forward. Victoria tried to protest, but the cameras caught everything. Her shaking hands, her panicked eyes. Please escort her out, Nicholas said quietly. As they led her away, her voice echoed through the hall. You'll regret this, Nicholas. You'll all regret it. But no one was listening anymore. Nicholas turned to Benita. She was crying again, but this time from relief. He took her hand and raised it gently for everyone to see. The truth always wins, he said, his voice full of peace. Love always wins. The hall erupted in applause. Cameras flashed brighter than ever. For the first time in years, Nicholas smiled without pain. Months passed. The storm faded. Victoria was charged with fraud and defamation. Anditech's stock price rose again, But Nicholas no longer cared about numbers. He cared about people, about family. Benita began her journey at the National Aviation School. The first day she wore her pilot's uniform, she sent her father a photo. He cried when he saw it. 3 years later, at the graduation ceremony, a private jet gleamed under the Abuja sun. Written across the side in gold were the words, "Angela's Wings." Benita, now a certified pilot, stood in front of it, her eyes bright, her heart full. Nicholas, dressed in a simple white agbada and Angela's photo pendant resting in his pocket, watched proudly. As the engines roared to life, Benita stepped into the cockpit and spoke through the intercom. "Ladies and gentlemen, welcome aboard our first flight to Lagos. This one's for you, Mum." Tears rolled down Nicholas's cheeks. When the jet lifted into the sky, slicing through the golden clouds, he whispered, "You did it, my daughter. You made her dream fly." And from above the clouds, it almost felt like Angela was smiling down on them, her love finally at peace, her family whole again. If you like this story, comment, share and subscribe to our channel for more interesting stories.